you around the key points of the lap, including the Senna Memorial. With that being said, I do love this track. I think it's absolutely fantastic to drive. And with just the way these cars race here, these Miatas in the Spec-5 World Tour, I'm really excited for this race. But Dean, give me your take on it.
Oh, mate, of course. I mean, I grew up with this track around Formula One. It used to be called the San Marino Grand Prix. But it's just one of those really classic, old-school Italian tracks. And, of course, the Italians love their speedways, don't they? Their motor tracks. They design them very, very well. Has that classic Italian style built into it. I mean, the Valentine at Tamburello corners, the Riviera, I can't remember that. Aqua Minolari, that's also another great corners and overtaking opportunities left, right, and center. Also, plenty of opportunities to get out there and get out to the gravel a little bit. But yes, my friend, anti-clockwise as well too. So, which is I also like, being a left-hander, my kind of thing.
Actually, I personally am right-handed, but I still do love this track. And actually, well, we are currently in qualifying, taking a look at, I believe that is David Starr running around in the background. It might be Kenneth, I'm not exactly sure. Actually, I do think it is Kenneth. I still do love this track. It's just amazing to drive. And you gotta think, Dean, with these straights and just the way this track runs in general, the runs here that they are going to get using this slipstream is going to be massive. And you gotta think, what are they going to do by the time they get to these corners? Because if you look at turn 1, the Tamburello chicane, as it is known, what are they going to do when they come into there? I mean, it's a chicane. We've seen passes happen there before in real life, but especially with these cars, how are they going to be able to handle it?
Well, turn 1 actually is a little kink before that, which is probably not even that exactly that. Well, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4.
We're going to forget it. We're going to forget
exactly.
about that one.
It's one of those tracks just like Austria and stuff like that too, where they just put a little kink in it and call it a corner. But yes, I did actually, believe it or not, see them doing a lot of that bump drafting in the practice sessions as teammates, of course, and we do have a few of these teammates, and you'll see that with the liveries. So that's it, yeah. Somebody's going to have to lift off a little bit, unless you chase each other through there, and that's going to be definitely risky because, one slight little lift or break a little bit early and you're on the back of your teammate. And golden rule number 1, as we all know, don't take your teammate out.
Yeah, definitely. And Otis Adams Jr. currently top of the charts right now. Curtis Jones in second, just over 800ths back. Then it's Mitchell Peak, 4,000ths back of Curtis Jones. Adam McLeod at P4. He just took that away from Tom Rath, who was in 5th place. And real quick, while we are taking a look at this is Kenneth Staub on my end, I wanted to take a quick moment that I wasn't late to this race.
Yeah, you didn't get caught in traffic, my friend. You had your test and everything right. The flight was good over here to Italy. Right on time. That's what you like to expect, of course. We're always on time, aren't we, with slow motion broadcasting? It's slow motion broadcasting because we can bring it to you in slow motion, but it's quick racing and it's on time. With 5 minutes to go in qualifying. And yeah, well, this is the thing too, isn't it, mate? Because where is our current championship leader? Rui. Not putting a really good qualifying performance in just yet.
He's currently down there in P10. I saw his practice lap, and it wasn't really all that great. He was just around that area. Lee Martin, the first open driver in the field, currently besting him by just under 0.2 of a second. Paulo Coimbra, Rui's teammate, follows him back there in 11th. And with that definitely brings the open field closer together. Last week at Road Atlanta, the open field was spread out quite far, honestly. These guys weren't really close together at all. So with these guys, I mean, it's just going to throw an entire curveball into the championship, because this could be the time where Paulo Coimbra could make a run for the Open Championship, or Rui might lose some points. We'll just take a look at Adam McLeod here. Currently P5, it looks like Eugenio Polici in his home country bested Adam McLeod that last time by.
Thanks for notice. We did have an Italian on the grid here, so that's why he's performing quite well at the moment. But 65 thousandths of a second, just off the pace there, as you can see on that timing table at the moment. Also, it's interesting. I'm not quite sure if we have time at the moment to pull up the standings or not for both our pro and second division here. keep forgetting what it's called. My apologies. There it is at the moment. We do it will overlap, of course, because we have the qualifying session on at the moment. If you'd like to read through that for us there, Mr. Alex, real quick.
Oh yeah, definitely. And currently, Rui Coimbra is over just 22 points clear of Jordy Fike. Adam McLeod only 1 point behind Jordy there, P3, Brian Zabelski P4, Curtis Jones P5, Tom Rath P6, Greg Mack in 7th. Jedediah Babinek, after some really fantastic races there, but just some unfortunate mistakes, gets him in P8. Ronnie Coates also been doing a pretty decent job this season, able to get that car there towards the end, P9. And James Hansen rounds out the top 10.
And that's your Pro Series. And of course, we have the other championship standings as well. If we get that one up real quick. Of course, we have a couple of minutes left. And there it is. Lee Martin leading this one for 2:30 over Jose. You got Greg Brockway, Paulo, Andrew, Josh. Again, pretty close, pretty spicy at the moment. Then starts to drop back a little bit. And Sean, Tom, Charles, over at your top 10. That's well, Stephen, P7 there. So, yep, that is your current Open. And as you guys are aware, there we have Open and Pros on at this track at the same time. This track as well, too, being, as we kind of mentioned, didn't we? It's about 4.9 kilometers. And for you guys in the old mile system, 3 miles. Your pit speed's about 60 kilometers an hour. And I'd expect the overall pit stop times, if I'm not mistaken with my information that I have, of course, when I went down there and put the stopwatch out. Maybe we'll look at about 48 seconds or something, and change anyway. We'll see.
Yeah, and that just goes to show how close this track is going to be. So if we can pull the timing chart back out, I do not currently see it on my end. Not sure if that's an issue that I'm having over here. My overlays are being a bit buggy on my end. There they are.
That's our fantastic producer in the background there, of course. There, Ian. He's got it all covered for us out there. G'day, guys in the chat. I'm reading it as well. So if you want to say hello, if you like pineapple in your pizza or not, it's perfectly okay. Just don't eat it here in Italy. You might they might not be happy. You can see that statue right there of Ayrton Senna, obviously the man that lost his life on this classic track back in the period there for the Formula One driver. One of the best Formula One drivers on the planet, of course, for Brazil. That's it, almost it for qualifying. A few more drivers to get across the line here, as Otis seems to be the one that's it does like pineapple on his pizza per se.
Yeah, he currently leads the chart, still just over 8/10 from Curtis Jones. I don't think Curtis or Mitchell set another lap down. Charles Vaccaro comes across the line with a 2:07.8. Zach Burke should be out of Ravatsa now, heading down the main straight. Currently P11. He's going to come across the line of 2:06.6. It's not going to get him anywhere. Actually, excuse me, he was a 2:05.7. Which moves him up one spot in front of Lee Martin. David Staub next across the line. Then it would be Otis going for another lap, and then Andrew Cossack. So let's see if we can get a bit of a camera here on David Staub. He should be going through Ravatsa right now, I do believe. Let's see if we can try and get some info on where he's at. And actually, no, qualifying just ended, excuse me. So
Yep.
This is your starting grid for tonight's event here at Imola. Otis Adams with a pole lap of a 2:05.2. 2:05.205, actually. Going straight into each other. And then Curtis Jones, P2, just over 8/10 back of Otis. Mitchell Peak rounds out the podium. Eugenio Polici in his home country starts P4. Adam McLeod 5th, rounding out the top 5. Tom Rath 6th. Nicky Borovic 7th. Ronnie Coates 8th. Rui Coimbra 9th. Zach Burke P10. And he rounds out the top 10 with Lee Martin, the first open driver in the field, starting P11. Brian Zabelski right behind him in P12. And it looks like it's going to be Paulo Coimbra, the second open class driver in the starting grid here. This is going to be interesting to see what he can do to try and gain some ground on Lee Martin. David Staub, P14. Kenneth Staub, P15. Greg Mack starts P16. Jose Gonzalez, 17th. Jordy Fike, 18th. Tom Athan, 19th. Or, you saying that right? Tom Athan? Tom Athan?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Sorry about that. Charles Vaccaro rounds out the top 20. Josh Olson, P21, Greg Brockway, P22, Andrew Kostic, 23rd, and Stephen Hellowell, 24th. Rounding out your starting grid for tonight's field. So with that, Dean, just give me some pre-race predictions. We definitely know that is Rui Coimbra not qualifying closer up towards the field. That easily throws a curveball into this race.
Yeah,
so.
we have to go racing, actually. I believe they're on a formation lap at the moment. Sorry, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I'm just getting a little eager because we didn't want to miss the start of the race as you're getting their way around. But, yeah, I mean, also, I was just looking at the open field there, and as you can see, Lee Martin, once again, he's the man leading that championship. But to tell you what, Paulo's been performing quite well, and it's just a couple down there, splitting, obviously, those pros, and that'll be interesting. Jose is actually second in the championship. He's running down P18, so he's got to deal with Paulo and a few other cars, but they're going to get ready to go. Yeah, this is a good opportunity for Otis, for sure, to try to take as much points as possible from Rio.
As they come down the last little kink on the front straightaway. Round 4 of the Spec-5 World Tour. They come ever so closer to the green flag. They're actually still under pacing. Oh, there they go. We're underway here for round 4 of the Spec-5 World Tour here at Imola, down towards turn 1. Otis Adams Jr. gets his nose out front, but here comes Curtis Jones back around the outside. Looks like Curtis is going to give him the corner. Otis Adams leads as they come down into turn 1. Very smart move, just separating into the Tamburello chicane to keep these cars nice and clean, as it is a 45-minute race. Still mostly single file throughout the field. We do have some cars side by side there, but Curtis Jones not letting go of Otis Adams, even just under 45 seconds into this race, as they come into Tosa. I believe that is that corner. Little top left or top right, little hairpin up top. Very slow corner for these guys. They're still side by side back there, but overall, Otis Adams leads the first minute of this race.
Got it done. Saved himself in there. Just got it all cleanly through. Most people, we have a couple of people we're showing out at the moment. At the back there, that's Greg, Charles, Stephen. Might have gone down to visit the pit lane or something's going on down the road there. But so far, really, not many massive gainers or losers. We have Zach that's gained 1 position at P9. We have Brian that's gained 2. And David Stab's gained 2 as well. We have a crash replay, I think, obviously, of some of the instances that occurred on the first lap here up. And let's have a look at the back of the field here. Who is this at the moment? I think we are looking at the 77 car. And that is probably the 077 car. That's the reason why Tom. That's the reason why Tom is going back in the pit lane.
Yeah, and unfortunate for Tom Rath there. Looks like that was who ended up wrecking out there. Just unfortunate for him. A great start to... Actually, no, it wasn't Tom. I'm not exactly sure who that was on my end. I'm not going to lie, my overlays are not doing too hot on my end, so...
Oh, big action in the background! Just caught that one. You saw that on the stream. That's about 2 or 3 cars. Now, I'm not sure if they all got out of the fence, but that was David Stab. Rui, let's have a look at this. And that's Rui. Ooh.
Here, Ronnie, ooh. Looks like Zach Burke sent it into the last part of Ravatsa too hard.
No, the spins up the road. Yeah, there it is. 31 car goes around, 78 car goes around. But they end up pointing in the same direction. It's not too bad, I'd have to say, for a little 360 spin. Back to the live action.
And I think what happened there is just that car behind Rui that looks like it is David Staub there, just unable to check up in time and sends Rui around. So already this race not going according to Rui's plans, but Otis Adams has actually opened up a 2.3 second gap already on these guys, even with the draft being just stupidly overpowered down here on the straightaways. So that just goes to show you how good Otis Adams here is here in the Spec-5 World Tour and these Miatas once he gets a shot. Back here towards, we're looking at Adam McLeod right now, currently chasing 3 other cars. You see Mitchell Peak and Eugenio Polici side by side up there. They sorted out coming out of the Tamburello chicane. It looks like the car in front of Adam. Looks like that's Curtis Jones up there fancying a move on Eugenio.
And yeah, well, and all that kerfuffle is going on. David and Kenneth, both the David Stab and Kenneth Stab, 6 positions gain each. And Geordie, 09 car, in just squeezing the P10 now. 8 positions gained with all that earlier accident. But as you mentioned there too, Otis is just kind of running away with a little bit. A huge gap. That's nice for him to be up the road. Pit stop windows we're expecting are out between 7 and 15. That will be your window. The drivers can choose that as they please, but that's the only time they can. There's the battle at the moment between P3 that you are currently watching. Polici and the Italian here in front of his Italian Tifosi. Of course, absolutely supporting out here. You can hear the cheers in the audiences every time that man drives his car around the grandstands.
Yeah, and just still, these guys just trying to close that gap to Otis Adams. It's just an amazing gap for just this early on in this race, and it looks like the draft just not even helping these guys at all. Otis sets the fastest time of the race, and just overall doing a great job up there in that 22 car.
Yeah, he got the fastest lap there. Well, yeah, he's the only man at the 205.2 club because he's got clean air. He's got nothing to worry about. He's just focusing on the racing line himself, getting the job done, and that's twirling coming out of the corner. And I think that was the Italian man. It was Eugenio. Just getting a little bit deep into that. We're going to replay that in a second, I'd imagine, if there's no other action. Here it is. Yeah, I'm quite sure. Did he just... Is this what you were talking about before, wasn't it, my friend? Alex, with the bump drafting, because you're so close, it just really just messes up your braking point a little bit.
Yeah, and even with it messing up the braking point, though, it is still a very viable tool down these straightaways here. Even with having to just check up just the slightest bit earlier, which can hurt your line just a tad, still, it can just really help down those straightaways when you just got a bunch of cars in a train, and you can just push each other down the front straightaway to increase your straightaway speed. So it can really help these guys out here in a tough situation. And actually, that's a car off. That's Eugenio Polici in the number 7. Looks like he was just coming through. That looks like the Villeneuve chicane. He comes through the corner, just loses it, spins out, he salvages any potential damage, but that sends him way back in the field and way far from where he wanted to be.
Yeah, would we have a replay of that one specifically? Or maybe I just missed that one. Yeah, we can't get the replay of that, but we are watching at the moment there. Adam McLeod, the Australian driver, put a big pressure on that last race. The only Aussie on the grid. Of course, he got a little bit of the favoritism from me up in the casting box, but he's got maybe looking at a opportunity here. He's got to bump draft as much as he possibly can. We'll get that track map up in a second for you guys too, to figure out where they are on the track. Fantastic, right on cue. And there it is. They're going to be heading into the famous 2, 3, and 4. Tamburello. And he's going to follow through at the moment. Now, what do you think? Opportunity into 7, Tosa, up the hill, as you mentioned, that little kink up the top. The track map.
It's definitely going to be a very decent corner to pass on for some of these guys. If you can get a nice run through the Villeneuve chicanes and end up getting to the inside of the car in front of you, you can really just carry nice momentum through the bottom of that corner and just be able to clear a car in front of you on exit. But so far, the top 3 has split up quite a decent bit. Otis Adams leads over Mitchell Peak, who has been on a bit of a resurgence as in the last couple of laps. Curtis Jones, P3, with Adam McLeod right on his tail. Tom Rath back there, P5, just holding on to these guys. And so is Nicky Borovic, who we haven't talked about pretty much at all this season. He hasn't been racing all that often, but he's here today, showing up in a great way there for that number 75 car down there in P6. Is actually Adam McLeod fancies a move to the inside of Curtis Jones. Looks like he's not going to be able to get there. That was through, probably going to butcher this corner name, but through Curva Fausto Grassini. Does a great job there trying to get that.
Pretty good. Your Italian's quite good. Yeah, exactly. Now he's coming down to 17 and 18. 2 very tight left-handed corners here. If he can make it stick and get the job done, that's a 73 car. That is Adam. Oh, he's got too deep. He's going to lose 2 of them now.
Too deep into Ravazza, almost loses 3 positions. He might be able to stay in front of Nicky Borovic here down the front straightaway, and he actually might be able to keep the spot on Tom Rath. He has the inside through the front stretch little kinks there. And it looks like he might be able to hold on to that spot. It looks like he will be able to, but that is going to cost him a heck of a lot of time on Curtis Jones. And actually, don't look now, but Mitchell Peak up there has narrowed that gap down on Otis Adams.
Oh,
that's an incident. The Tamborello chicane quickly.
It's
Adam McLeod and Curtis Jones there. Curtis toes back to the pits. Looks like Adam is trying to get it back going.
Oh, all right. No more showing the camera on my Australian driver, please. It's not working this evening. We'll go back to Adam later. It's just not fair for Adam, but the battle's, of course, still occurring where Adam was, and that's Nicky. And you can tell you can definitely tell it's Nicky because he's got Nicky on the side of his car, the 75. So that's a great way for we're not going to miss that Canadian, are we?
Definitely not at all. He's doing a great job up there for himself. Back up to P4, taking advantage of that incident there. He still has Eugenio Polici, who's actually been able to recover from that incident. And Eugenio has brought himself back into the top 5, but it's nowhere near the 3 leaders up there. But Mitchell Peak has really closed that gap down.
It's going to lift to that, Nicky. You got to keep 4 wheels on the track, my friend, not 3. Not 1, actually. I think that was 1 wheel at one point.
He just ate the curb at Aqua Minerale. Hopefully I said that correctly. It's a bit of difficult, but
that's right. You had too much pineapple on your pizza, mate. It's all right. It's okay.
Looks like Nicky Virovic just holds on to that car through there after getting very close to spinning out. That was like Max Bantz levels of air through bad setups that I've seen. So Mitchell Peak there. I want to take a look back up towards that Mitchell Peak up front. I can't stress this enough.
Yeah, he's getting close now, isn't he?
Yeah, that gap at one point to Otis Adams Jr. was at 2.3 seconds. Now, Mitchell Peak has narrowed it down to under 1/10, and I think he's actually going for the lead.
Yeah, P1 and P2.
Yeah, and he has gotten the overtake done into turn number 1, the Tamborello chicane. Looks like he was able to make that nicely down the front straightaway, and that moves the 56 car, the Canadian driver of Mitchell Peak, up into the number 1 position. But I wouldn't say Otis Adams is going to give it up too quickly. We know he's a very aggressive driver. He will do whatever he can to try and win this race. So don't expect that 22 car to not put up a fight, because you know he definitely will.
How did he pull that gap down? Just driving his pants off. I mean, Mitchell just came down. We know Otis has got a great gap up off the top. He was on off-road. We will have the pass for the overtake, but I just want to keep an eye on this battle, of course. And we're going to have a look at it right now. That's just down the main straight. Got a fantastic exit out of 18. And now you go all the way down, and that's just Slipstream 101 and Determination 102. Mitchell Peak getting it done. Up into the lead. Look at that gap is actually starting to form as well too. But keep an eye on, once still have those battles that are occurring there with our local Italian of Mr. Polici in Gino, because here I want to get Tifosi, my friend, so you can hear them fanatical Italians screaming out his name every time it goes around a corner, and in Italian, of course. I'm not quite understanding. Welcome in the chat world there too, guys. I'm reading it. Gazzy, sorry, yep, it's the time zone, mate. You must be in the UK or Europe or somewhere along the line there. Yeah, 2 a.m. Trust me, I have to get up at 6 a.m. and do some casting for the free practice for the Formula One. So, yeah, don't worry about it. The time zones hurt us, but yeah, we would love to have you on the grid. Oh, going wide. Oh,
Mitchell
going
Peak's
wide.
Off. Looks like he sent it a bit too hard into Ravezza. Handles it quite nicely, brings it back onto the track. And honestly, down the front straightaway, I think he might be able to make that move back around. He has a great run here so far. Into the second kink they come.
Oh, that's a touch too.
Tell Mitchell Peak has just way more consistent laps than Otis Adams Jr. that are fast through basically every sector. He lost a bit of time there through Ravezza. Mitchell Peak is not going to be able to get him there through the Tamborello chicanes, but still a very close race, and Mitchell Peak is definitely still going to put up one heck of a fight to try and get to the lead. But I want to start to take a look here at the pit strategy. If my info sheet is correct, let me pull it back up for myself. Looks like the max laps for a fuel tank here is 15. And it looks like the race is going to be around 22 laps in total for these guys. So they're all, looks like maybe 6 1/3, 6.5 laps on these tires here. So, or not, excuse me, on, wow, on this tank of fuel here. So they will have to come in soon. And the question is, when are you going to do it? Because if we go to lap 22, you could technically pit now, lap 7 coming to 8, and probably make it to the end. You might have to save just a tad, but you could do that braking on corners by pushing in the clutch. So, I'm curious to see when these guys are going to start to pit soon, because it's definitely going to come up, especially for drivers that want to attempt the undercut to try and put themselves in a better position.
And you can only got the window from 7 to 15. That's it. That's when the pit stops are open. After that, it's shut the doors. Go home. You've got whatever. You don't have enough fuel to finish the race, put it that way. So that's the window. What do you do if you caught in a lot of the traffic? These guys are battling it. Obviously, you can see P1, P2. But we do have lots of action, of course, Kane. Look at Lee Martin as well. So up at a P9 there on the open class, doing a fantastic job again. But there's Rui. Look at Rui. He's got a bit of pressure there on Jose in the other class, and that's P12 and P13. You got to wonder, if you're getting held up in a bit of traffic, could the undercut pay off?
Yeah, and that's really what we're going to have to look for. Will the undercut pay off as Mitchell Peak? Otis gives him room. He goes to the inside to try and make a move before they come to the Tamburello chicane. It looks like Otis is going to give him the corner. Just smart driving on Otis's part just to make sure he doesn't overdrive that car into a mistake for himself. Looks like he's held onto it quite nicely, but now Mitchell Peak, honestly, with his last couple of laps, even with the mistake entering Ravazza, is still I would say definitely just a tad bit faster than Otis Adams Jr. They're still very even together, but I would say that Mitchell Peak is still probably so slightly faster, and Mitchell Peak actually has the fastest lap. Sorry to interrupt you there with a 2:03.101.
Yeah, sorry, because there was a bit of action. I could also carry where Rio is Jose and Brian at the back. We might have we got obviously multiple camera angles, but there was an overtake around here. I think that was Rio getting past Jose a little earlier. And they are there currently right now, as you can see. And that's obviously, that's a mad championship leader at the moment, running at P11. Boy, you did see Mitchell and Otis going for it, tooth and nail at the top. And once again, that's Rio trying to get past Jose in the different classes, doing a fantastic job. Jose now up into P2. Not quite sure what had happened. Where is our other driver there of Paulo? That's the question there. Paulo, yeah, down. Must have made a mistake. Or Paulo's made a pit stop, actually. Paulo has made a pit stop out there. So there it is. Gazzy boy, he's your favorite driver. He's like to do the undercut. Let's see if it works off. Pays out.
Yeah, and he wants to put himself back into position to getting around Lee Martin for an open class victory. He's going to have to make that undercut work for himself. If he can just get a nice, decent couple of push laps, then he might be able to do as we take a look at Nicky Borovic here, running in the top 5, just under 6/10 back of Eugenio Polici in front of him in the 7 car. David Staub right behind him, looks like 7.5 back. So, I'm really looking forward to what Nicky has in store for the rest of this race. I know he's a very good driver. He knows exactly what he's doing here in these Miatas. So we haven't seen him all that much this season, but still a very strong driver and definitely going to be able to make some moves.
And doing 205s as well, too, late 205s, which is what the best times generally drivers are doing. Zach goes in the pit there from P12. This is the pit stop territory right now we mentioned. From 17 to 15, lap 17 to 15, we're on lap 9. Something's really slow there. Was that a let off?
Looks like Paulo Coimbra, I think.
Yeah. Was there a lap down from Paulo now?
Not sure. I wonder if he might have gotten some sort of penalty or if he's just letting faster cars by, but looks like you only lose around 48 seconds for your pit stop. So I want to say that that's got to be some sort of penalty on his part that he had to maybe serve there.
Showing the pit stop times about 1 minute and 1:59, 1:60 almost for Paulo.
Yeah,
so a little bit different. And yeah, some of the drive, we'll see. And still, Mitchell leading from Otis. That's P1 and P2. That's what you can see right now. They're not giving it up. And they've got a 3.8 second cap there to Curtis Jones. As you'd mentioned, looked like right at this battle. It's just the way they throw those cars around, isn't it? Lee Martin, looks like Ronnie's putting a bit of pressure on Lee Martin in the background, but we'll keep an eye on this battle, P1 and P2. Obviously, we can show the replays of the other incidents, and Adam McLeod, I think, is also putting a bit of pressure there on Josh after we saw him go around. Well, Adam really has dropped some places. He hasn't been in the pit lane yet either.
Yeah, and Adam's a great job up there. And Adam McLeod, like you were talking about, I think that was because that incident, the Tamburello chicane, he didn't tow,
That's
kept
right,
it
yeah.
on the racetrack.
And we're not allowed, we're not allowed to go on board with him Adam at the moment. He hits us as well too because he's battling it out with Josh. Do not go to the camera angle with him. Trying to save it. Kenneth stabs in. So this is the starting to see this top leaders to make these pit stops. This is going to give us a great indication of that pit stop time that you mentioned and how much are they going to gain, how much are they going to lose.
So let's see if we can pull up that pit stop time chart to see what Kenneth Staub ends up doing through the pit road here in that number 137 car. Looks like he's been on pit road for 30 seconds total now.
That's it. Yep, in and out. Well, it's a total of 48, but yeah, it's a 30-second pit stop. Well, 12-second pit stop, and yeah, so that's pretty good time. It should be.
Yeah, and that is around the normal pit loss that you would have around 48 seconds for. Excuse me, I just had completely lost my train of thought. Whoa! Let's get back into it. Kenneth Staub lost just about 48 seconds in his pit stall there, or throughout the entirety of pit road, which is about according to the calculations. But towards the front here, Otis Adams Jr. Remember what I was saying about Mitchell Peakus being slightly faster? I don't know if it's the draft or Otis has picked up the pace, but he is not losing that 56 car in front of him.
No, but the problem is who's in the lead is the one that makes the call for the pit stops. As the 22 really does bounce it around a little bit of lap traffic coming up as well. Going to be interesting, believe it or not, that'll be the lap traffic of Greg Mack in the same class as they're going to be approaching 17 and 18. Now, this is the thing. Otis can match if Mitchell goes in or not. The pressure is on Mitchell to see whether or not what he has to do. He's looking at his mirrors, checking, making sure Otis is still there. You can see that is Greg Mack in the pit lane up there. Do they both go in? No? Another lap gone? Who's going to, it's like a game of cat and mouse, isn't it?
And actually, Curtis Jones pits from, I believe that was third there. So now we're really going to get a good indicator of whether or not these guys can perform on pit road, because honestly, being able to perform well on pit road, Curtis Jones, he was around 3 seconds back when he came in, and if he performs well on pit road, he might be able to put himself back into contention.
Just having a look at some of the other drivers who'd been in and out so far of the pit lane. Andrew, I believe, before. So, yeah, we're getting some indication. Kenneth did box before, but now Kenneth is down 22nd place. A lot of time lost. But it's showing out at the moment, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to him.
Yeah, it looks like he's just not sure. He might have actually crashed there. We'll see if we can get maybe a replay of sorts. I'm not sure if anything happened to him there. Looks like he's currently just hanging out on the road. It's like maybe an off track, nothing too big from him there. But I want to pull up those lap times again, because Otis and Mitchell, like, just looking at their lap times and just seeing what is happening here with these guys. See, lap 6, Mitchell Peak pulled away by 69 thousandths. But lap 7, Otis Adams cut back into that by just over a tenth, and then Adams loses 7.5 tenths there on lap 8 and gains some of it back, 70 hundredths on lap 9, and then 85 hundredths on lap 10. So when these guys are really on it, not making mistakes, that just goes to show you how close the skill gaps of all the drivers and these cars are in this league. And it just really gives us the best kind of racing to cover. This is where it's going to be interesting. It looks like they both dive into the safety of the pit lane to top off on fuel. I
figured that they might follow him in. Otis is going to follow. But look at this. Polishi was going quick. He's doing 205s. Not just him. I think Nicky as well. But Nicky's gone in the pit lane. So I'll tell you what. They're starting to do about almost a second a lap quicker than those leaders. So, yeah, why not stay out, my friend, the Italian? Because if you're getting those lap times in, those tires are, well, the fuel's actually burning off, of course, but at some point you're going to have to go in. Will be interesting to see if we can continue those kind of 205 laps while those leaders were doing 206s. Adam McLeod's now up into P5, but he hasn't yet to make a pit stop. So this is going to be interesting now. You can see on that track map, they're all kerfuffling around the pit lane area, which is right near the start, stop, finish, where they're all going to come out. There's going to be all coming out together. Nice big friendly party here in Italy. It's a pizza party, isn't it, mate?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And these guys, I would say, are having a great time out there just off how fun this track is personally. And it's like the top 5 to stay out. Eugenio Polici in front of his home crowd there. Looks like he was around P4 before everybody came in. David Staub right behind him by around 2 seconds. Then Ronnie Coates 2.7 seconds back of David Staub. Then Lee Martin, the first open driver in the field, currently still P1 for his class there, just 4/10 behind Ronnie. And then Adam McLeod, after that incident in the Tamburello chicanes, currently sitting in P5 there. So I really want to keep an eye on Eugenio Polici here to see when he where he comes out of the pits when he eventually does come in to make that required stop.
It's a fuel that they have. How much have they got? Because at some point they're going to have to think about this because the window's going to close at lap 15. But I'll tell you what, David's last lap was at 2:05.171, and that man's gained 12 positions. Of course, he's going to have to still box and lose a few of them. But he's got those pink rims. He's putting in the times. That's all. He's gone in. And guess what? I tell you, driver, Eugenio Polici has not gone out. You can see the Tifosi. The Tifosi's probably starting to get a little bit nervous at the moment. Going, mate, you sure got enough gas? He has not one of those Ferrari sensors on that car, does he? We won't go there, will we? The Formula One Ferrari fuel sensor.
Yeah.
You were aware of that situation that occurred? Oh! He really did. You can't hit those sausage curves, mate. They're a bit nasty. Will it get damage in the car as well?
Yeah, doesn't look like it. Probably still fine. These cars, quite small, but these things are most definitely tanks with the way they drive. Comes through the Villeneuve chicanes here. I just want to go back here to P3, Lee Martin.
Yeah, just wondering real quick there if you can show the gap to leader as well too for our obviously our brilliant producer of Ian up next to all that gap, so we can kind of get an idea of what's going to happen in those pit stops.
Yeah, it looks like I can't really do the math on that one on my end, but it's like I completely lost my train of thought. I'm not even going to lie. Dean, I'm going to hand it over
I
to
did
you
the Le Mans. I did the Le Mans on the weekend. I thought I was all over the place, so it's okay. Yeah, we will get that up there in a second there, Ian, if you can, because we got the interval gap. Of course, that's the gap between all the cars, but we'll see the gap to leader because we do know that the pit stops around here are about, they're actually quite all over the place, but we're averaging, I'd say, the 48 or something. Yeah. On the next row next to the interval, you can pull it on the timing board. You can pull up the gap to leader, I believe, was one of those columns. But continue. Yeah, sorry, I would. Yeah, there it is. So that'll give us an indication now if who boxes where they're going to come out, because we know that the people that have actually had the pit stops, and I'll just let you know there from P5 down have made their pit stops. So, yeah. Is there enough time? That's going to be the key, isn't it? What, 30-something seconds? I don't think so. But where are they going to come out?
Polici comes in, and this is where it's all going to come down to whether or not Polici can get himself back up there. And actually, I didn't really notice, but Otis Adams Jr., after pit stops, is in front of Mitchell Peak by around 5 seconds back there. That's really going to split the field up as Ronnie Coates and Lee Martin decide to stay out another lap. They will have to come in either this time or next time. They cannot go all the way on fuel. Unless they got that 500-gallon gas tank, which honestly I've
fan boost. If you're they're Italians in now anyway. But yeah, Adam is obviously in. So they're going to lose that position. Look at the track map. You're going to lose it out there, of course, because Otis is going to be back in essentially the lead of this race because Ronnie's yet to box as well as Lee. And as you can see, the pit stops Well, I'm getting the information, and once again, a little different pit stop times, but one or two. I'll say probably a little bit later than the 48s. Probably around the 50s, I'd say, average for the pit stops for most of these guys. You see the spread the field now, too, between the Reds and the Blues, of course. The pros. But Lee's might have that advantage. Thank you very much for that gap, my friend. We could probably turn that off in a second because it'll get too confusing of all those numbers for everybody. Brilliant job. Yeah, I don't know. At the moment, mate, we still got 2 drivers yet in the box. And actually, Zach, sorry, hasn't boxed yet, but he's putting a bit of pressure on. See how that pans out. But anybody's race to win, mate, as we're 28 minutes in the final dying stages of the pit stop window. And where is our championship leader? Well, he's not too bad, isn't he? Rui's kind of come back a little bit, climbed his way back to 78k. He's made his pit stop, he's P9.
Yeah, and he has a car 2.1 seconds of Eugenio Polici, who I would say probably lost more time than he gained there through that pit cycle. Jordy Fike currently behind Rui. 2 of the fastest guys in this series, and really they just aren't doing all too hot here.
Yeah, there's the other 2 gladiators to go into the pit lane. Both Ronnie and Lee realizing we can't push it too much more now. That means Otis will be back into the lead of this race from Mitchell, and that pit stop obviously paid off a little bit. They're lapping with 205.8 now, almost identical time. We're going to probably go back to that situation in a second, isn't it, with Otis and Mitchell again going tooth and nail. But I tell you what, we're going to keep an eye out for that David. David Starhub has been doing a fantastic job, the 36 car. 8 positions he's gained. He's made his pit stop. And we'll keep an eye on his lap times and see what he can kind of do about this race. And it's also going to help him out in the championship as well.
Yeah, and this race probably just has not gone the way he wanted to at all. As we take a look at Otis Adams with a 3.4 second gap, which I actually think has been closing. This race is really going to hurt Rui in points, and it's not going to help his shot at a championship at all. He does have a pretty sizable lead, but it's still going to be very sketchy to see if he can hold on to it when this race is over. And speaking of gaps between leaders, the one between Otis Adams and Mitchell Peak, 3.3 seconds. That was, I believe...
So real quick, it looks like Lee Martin made a little bit of a mistake if you go back to the replay of that one, because he got passed by a couple of drivers here, unless Lee Martin's just started moving aside there on the different classes. But we have a replay of that. Because it looked... No. Yeah, sorry, there was a pass there. So Lee Martin got passed by a couple of the pro divisions. But then again, Lee Martin might have just been, okay, you guys are in a different class, and Lee Martin still has a bit of a gap to Jose there. It's down in P13. Sorry to cut you off there. Alex, go ahead.
And I wanted to take a look at the gaps. If you take a look at that, right? 3.4 seconds between Otis Adams Jr. and Mitchell Peak is the gap between first and second, right? That was, I want to say that's around the same amount of time that was the original gap that Mitchell Peak was able to bite into. It looks like he's still doing that as they come through Cordova Fausto Grassini there. So I really think, I gotta wonder, can Mitchell Peak close this gap and still win this race?
He can, absolutely, because he's last lap. If you can pull up that, obviously the battle bar, the timing, the split times as well, too, between perfectly right on cue. Look at he gained on the last lap. He did a 205.6 and Otis did a 206.9. So Otis made a little bit of an error there somewhere. And once again, Mitchell's climbing back in again. He's got his fishing wheel out. Once again, he's trying to hook it on one of those roll bars and just reeling him in again for another one of those close battles that we saw before the pit stops.
And it looks like, since they pitted, I want to say that Mitchell Peak has had a net gain of time there. You can see where he loses 5.4 seconds. That's a lap day pit, but ever since then, it has just been slow gains for Mitchell Peak there. Lap 14 really ate into it with a 1:2.59. Time decreased towards Otis Adams Jr., and then he made up 29 thousandths there that last lap. So, and he looks like he has closed up, see, around 4/10 since we were last coming towards Aqua Minerale through the Piratella corner up top there. So looks like Mitchell Peak, he's definitely putting some extra wheel into it to get it around this racetrack, and he is slowly winding that gap down, like you were saying.
Yeah, he is. We're going to keep where he's a little bit quicker here. I expect them to be at it again. We have plenty of time, of course. We have 11 minutes and change to go in this race. Once again, let's have a look as they make their way through Valentira, 14 and 15, I believe it is, that little kink in the road there. As you can see, the cars go absolutely flying, 2 wheels and sometimes 3 wheels off the track. On the track, of course, but back onto the track. There's a little bit of a jump. And see if he gained. I think, look, he might actually have gained a little bit. Maybe it's now time for Otis to, maybe he's got a little bit of a radio call saying, okay, you got to pick it up a little bit because it's starting to shave a little bit of time off you. We'll see. He's about to cross the line in a second down the straightaway. And there it is. So sector time. So you can see there for a second that, yeah, I'd say Otis is definitely quicker in that sector 3, but he's losing sector 1 and sector 2. Well, there's 4 sectors actually, believe it or not, so I'm used to Formula 1. There it is.
Yeah. And
so there it is, a quicker lap again. Once again from Mitchell. If you pull that back up, yeah, look at that. Half, almost 7/10 he's gained. So what do you do right now if you're Otis? You've got to, like, you're losing some time in this first 1 or 2 sectors at least.
Yeah, and that's just, I'd say really these chicanes is where Mitchell Peak is making up all his times, just sending it in nice and easy and making up time through exit as they came through. See, that was Carver Foster.
Gained it again too. Another 1/10 gain in the sector 1 graphic. Our man in Ian, our producer's really on top of this right now. Great. I didn't even know you can do that with the graphics. Fantastic. This is what you get at slow motion racing course for the Spec-5 World Tour Series Season 9, Round 5. We're about halfway through the season too, mate. Look at that gain. Almost a second. Mitchell's on a mission.
No, he's knocked that gap down to under 1.5 seconds. So this race, I'm not going to lie, I thought that it was going to be close to done. And actually,
off track.
Otis messes up through Aqua Minerale there. And
it's going to let it through.
Oh, Mitchell Peak gets right to the back bumper and gets his nose out front by the time they get to Fausto Grassini. He has the lead by the time he gets to Fausto Grassini, but Otis Adams gets the better exit there. He might have a run down the short chute into Ravenza. We're going to have to see. Otis has a bit of a draft run there. He has the gap under 2.5 tenths there. Actually, down to 3 tenths now. So Mitchell Peak was really fast down that straightaway. Into Ravatsa they come, and Mitchell Peak just easily takes the lead, and he's currently walking away with it.
I'm not quite sure it was easy. I apologize. I mean, I think because he went off track, it might have got a little bit a radio message saying you got to lift off and let him pass. It seemed it could look like a little bit of a lift to do that, because you do that if you do go off track. The game obviously simulation gives you a determination that you're going to have to give a position back, because otherwise it's an unfair advantage. But once again, we're going to be back again. It isn't a deja vu, isn't it, mate? It reminds you, doesn't it, of lap 7 or so before the pit stops, where they were just side by side, like bumper to bumper, drafting to drafting. Keep an eye out too. So those gladiators in the background, I'll tell you what. Eugenio Palucci, he is 205s. He's lapping a little bit quicker than these leaders as well. Ronnie, Nicky is also on some really serious pace. So they've got some time, 8 minutes or so to catch them. But yeah, don't count them out for a potential podium even.
Yeah, and it would be a pretty big gap that he'd have to make up to get up there to the podium. Curtis Jones currently holds on to that last podium spot. You can see him just coming through Tosa back there in the background there. There he is. He's got David Staub right behind him, and David has had a really good showing in this race. He's doing a great job so far for himself. Looks like he's cut into Jones's gap significantly, but he did lose a little bit of time that last lap.
You mean the man that's gained 10 positions in this race at the moment? He's doing a brilliant job looking for a podium. Only thing that's stopping him at the rope is the 9 car. And I guarantee you, isn't it, if you gain 10 positions in this race, you don't want to settle for a P4. You want a podium. You want to be up there. You want to be standing in front of the Italian crowd and holding that trophy up. And I guarantee you that man in the 36 car of David wants to do that. Only person stopping him is Curtis.
Yeah, and so we got pretty good race on our hands. Mitchell Peak and Otis Adams up front, and then Curtis Jones and David Staub for the final step on the podium. So really good battles all around. And actually, Otis lost a bunch of time there. It looked like 3/10 on Mitchell Peak, maybe 2 now as they come down the main straight there through Ravatsa. So Otis, he definitely has some work to do on his end.
Otis must have gone off track somewhere. His last lap was a 2:09 or something. Now it's a 2:06, so it's a little similar. But there's a run now. But David, once again, I told you this man, the pink rims, pinks is the new red. We've seen this before. Bump drafting. Where are they on track? Making their way down to Tamburello. And this is going to be filing side by side. Otherwise, you're going to be into the medical center. And they did get through there. And he's got, once again, you can think of lining up for 7 or follow all the way through there. Maybe 17 and 18 down the bottom of your track map, which is Riviera.
Yeah, and it's like Curtis just doing a pretty good job running a nice defensive line, holding on to that spot. Looks like Staub lost around 200ths there that lap, so Curtis Jones doing a pretty good job for himself here, just trying to hold on to that spot, but David Staub is not going to give up on that podium place so easily. And speaking of not giving up on places easily, Mitchell Peak closed down an incredible 3.2 second gap, but ever since he got around Otis, Otis has picked up the pace rapidly and is now sticking to the rear bumper of that 56 car. As they come through Aqua Minerale there, they're going to come into Curva Fausto Grassini there. Heck, they're probably the slowest chicane on this track and the sharpest one at that. Very easy to make a mistake here. As we see, we get a nice static camera of the cars coming through there. Just look at them eating that curb as they come through the first part of it. And it looks like, I want to say that's where Otis is losing most of his time there. When he came through the second part of that chicane, you could just see he just straight missed it. He was around half a lane from the apex of that. So I think that might be where Otis is losing some of his time.
Yep, I'd say so as well. He knows it. And he knows that time is running out a little bit. Still 4 minutes and change to go in this race. As you can see, that's a total of 45 minutes. The 2 battles that are occurring, of course, between Mitchell and Otis, that's P1 and P2. We've also got Curtis and David battling it out. David could be making a run now too, as well, too, if we could switch over to that. As David is getting pretty spicy and backed it side by side. You know he wants it. It could be 11 positions gained right now for this driver, and that's be fair, fantastic. That's the pink rims working to his favor. The 36 car also means now Curtis is going to want that place back. This could be the difference, Bob, because once Curtis did box on lap 10, David boxed on lap 12.
Yeah, and that's where some weight from fuel, honestly, would start to take effect, I would say. Lighter car means you don't got as much restriction. Wow. I'm going to try that one more time. A lighter car means less restrictions. There we go. On how much power you can put out of your car, especially going up hills like after Tosa heading towards Piratella there. So really a lighter car could be the source of how David Staub is making up all this time with that earlier pit stop. It's helping him maintain that gap between himself and Curtis Jones. But while we keep an eye on this, we have 2 battles, maybe even 3 to focus on if we can get the interval pulled up here on the timing tower. And
that's right, yeah.
We have multiple battles going on all over the track right now. As there's the intervals. You can really see the amount of battles going on track right now. Obviously, we have for the win here, Otis Adams and Mitchell Peak. But then for P2, it's David Staub and Curtis Jones. Then there's one for a top 5, Ronnie Coates and Eugenio Polici. Then for 9th there, even 8th as well, for Rui Coimbra, Lee Martin, and Jordy Fike there. Then Kenneth Staub and Brian Zabelski back there for 11th. And 16th between Zach Burke and Charles Vaccaro as well. So just really great job from all of these guys. They're all giving us a great race to cover here later into the night.
Once again, Lee Martin just doing another class of his own, isn't he? He's battling with the pro boys, as he had been in the last couple of races. But yes, battles all over here. And don't look away, of course, because we've only got about 2 minutes left in this race. And this is where it's going to get a little bit heated up here in Italy, because I think somebody might send a little bit of a late dive here to try to gain a position. That could all go pearl-shaped if something happens at the top of the timesheets there. So you've got to just keep driving as fast as you can. But look at that. Curtis now. Ronnie. The Italian driver, Pulisci. He's got the fan boost behind him. That's where all the action's certainly going to be happening. They all want that P3 position. You know, David's not really going to fight that one up too much. He doesn't want to give it up. There's a bit of a gap there for him now. I think Mitchell's just got to stepped on the extra, cranked it to another gear perhaps. But yeah, this is the battle for podium. Look at that. Right there on track, you can see those 4 gladiators all going for it.
Actually, I'm not sure if you mentioned it. Otis Adams has lost 2.5 to Mitchell Peak. And looks like just Otis lost a decent bit of time there. I wonder if we can get a replay on anything that might have happened there. Could have been an off track there. David stopped. Lost a bit of speed there. No real off tracks that we can keep track of here. And that brings the battle for P1 to an end here, unless Otis can set a really fast lap here through this last lap here as they come through Ravatsa for the second to last time, I would say here. Now the clock is going to run out this time by, so this will be the final lap. They're going to come to take the white flag this time by, and that's really where these guys back here are going to have to step it up. Curtis Jones back there, down there in P4, 7/10 back of David Staub. Then Ronnie Coates, only 2/10.
Ronnie's going for it. Sorry, but yeah, right. Is that Pulisci there? P6 at the moment. Yes, it is the 31 car, 7 car. That's up down the road there. But look at the battle just ahead. That's Ronnie, as you mentioned. So yeah, the gloves are off, my friend. The heat is out. The arena right now for these gladiators is Imola. And this is it. And round 5 here of the Spec Tour. And everybody's going to go for it tooth and nail. There's the 7 car. The Italian driver, as the Italian Tifosi goes absolutely ballistic for him. But further up the road there, who wants the P3 position? Michel, I have to say, has got this one from Otis, but look at the run right now.
There's a fight for second. David Staub to the inside of Otis Adams Jr. into the Villeneuve chicane. It looks like Ronnie Coates is right back there to try and make a run at it as well. He will. By the time they get up to Tosa, it's probably going to be a good pass for him. Otis Adams holding the outside, just losing spot after spot after spot here as they head towards Piratella for the final time here in this race. Mitchell Peak has opened up a comfortable gap, but the racing definitely not done. Otis Adams and Pulisci side by side back there. Pulisci gets the spot through Piratella. Now as they come into Acqua Minerale for the last time. Not sure if anybody else is going to have anything more for each other, but David Staub.
Oh, who's got a little bit wide?
Oh, that's gonna give Otis Adams the spot to get the room back. I believe that was Pulisci there.
That's Curtis.
Oh, that was Curtis actually. Curtis has gone wide. I think he actually ran out of fuel there. He's going very slow there in that number 9 car. And that actually raises another question. Can they make it all the way back around?
Keep an eye on Ronnie there for P3, making a run on David. This could be the final chance that he can possibly get a P2 position, a podium position. Where is he going to break? This is the final 2 quarters in Ravatsa, 17 and 18.
Otis back there as well as they come through Ravatsa for the final time. I don't think Coates is going to have anything for David Staub, but Mitchell Peak outruns Otis Adams, and he wins round 5 of the season 9 of the Spec-5 World Tour. Here from Imola, David Staub ends up in 2nd place for that 36 car. Ronnie Coates P3, Nicky Borovic P4, Eugenio Pulisci P5, Jordy Fike P6, Lee Martin in 7th, wins the open class yet again with flying colors. Rui Coimbra P8, Otis Adams P9, and Kenneth Staub rounds out the top 10, and just multiple drivers running out of fuel there. I think Otis might have had to just slow down because he just didn't have enough fuel there.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and Curtis definitely ran out of fuel there through Acqua Minerale there when he was coming up towards Fausto Grassini there. So
let's see if we can get a replay exactly of what happened to our Italian hero here, Eugenio, because he went, that was it. Let's have a look at the final dying moments of this. He went off track. Now, he's obviously didn't have a complete spin because he did end up finishing in P5. But he went for a move here.
Ooh.
And must have outbraked himself. Let's have a look. The whole contact.
turns
Ooh.
himself off of Otis Adams Jr. That gives Borovic P4 and ends Eugenio's shot at a podium there. Very unfortunate for him, but he still manages to salvage a top 5. And just great racing overall from these guys. I mean, we're continuing, and again, we're still going. Ever since Slow Motion Broadcasting has started covering the Spec-5 World Tour, I have yet to be disappointed with the Spec-5 World Tour race. We're still going strong after over, I want to say, 10 races. So, just another great show from these guys. They always never cease to amaze me. And what do you say we get some interviews by the time we have some guys heading into the waiting rooms, yeah? But in the meantime, team, give me your thoughts at the end of this race here.
It's always been cracking races at the end, hasn't it? I mean, all of a sudden these guys pull out some sort of pace out of nowhere. It's kind of like they're just playing that chessmate. They're just waiting for the final dying moments to play that checkmate or not. Mitchell had really brilliant, but it's a little bit unfortunate. Obviously, we've seen that battle with Otis because Otis must have had that issue. I think he must have been close to running out of fuel or something because just dropping those places like left, right, and center. David Stab, what a drive, my friend. What a drive. The 36 car, 12 positions gained. I didn't know if you didn't think about that before the pit stop window that he could possibly be on a podium, but he knew it. We'll speak to him about it, of course. Ronnie gaining 5 positions. Fantastic drive for the 31 car. Nikki, as you said, a new one to look out for in the season, relatively new. The Canadian driver doing a fantastic job there, gaining 3 positions. Unfortunately for the Italian driver, as we know from Eugenio, and that might, but I'll tell you what, I don't know, whatever happens with the stewards, but that, yeah, they're going to be, maybe the other driver might not be the most popular person here in Italy, having a bit of a nudge with the Italian driver, but Mitchell Peak definitely had pineapple on his pizza. Just don't tell the Italians.
Just a running joke from you with that one, eh?
Yep.
But take through our final results there. Just a great job from all of these guys. We're going to see if we have people pulling into the interview waiting rooms. We don't have any just yet, but
give them a second to have a cool off, mate. They got to get out and have a stretch. That's been a thrilling race because 45 minutes of grueling Imola.
Yeah, that just gives all these guys times to figure out their cars more for the end of the season. As the next week, we head to one of my most anticipated tracks. If any of you have been covering Spec 5 here since last season, you definitely remember the side-by-side 3 wide coming to the line at Phillip Island. I know with the way that track is laid out, it might not seem very realistic here, but they were 3 wide coming to the line for the win of that race. I almost jumped up out of my chair, so really looking forward to that track. And after that, another really good racetrack that I know for these cars, the Daytona Road Course. If anybody has watched the Inomitsu Global Mazda MX-5 Cup, you know what those Daytona races are like. So they're really going to be, especially with the guys we have in here, going to be fantastic races. But as we have one driver who has stopped into the interview waiting rooms, and it is your, once again, winner of the Open class for Lee Martin here. Overall finishes, I believe, finishes P7. So Lee, just walk me through that race. You did a great job there for yourself. Lee?
Sorry, that was a race of discipline more than anything else. I don't have that same discipline with the mic button, though, apparently.
Too much Ferrari champagne, mate. But yeah, once again, great job. Go talk us through that race, exactly what Alex said.
Yeah, they set an incredible pace. And, oh, sorry, I've got him going on in the game. They set an incredible pace. All I wanted to do was keep clean and try to stay out of trouble. I was going for the 0 incident points, and that just wasn't going to happen. I think halfway through the first lap, somebody went out, and I had to go off track, so gave up those bonus points there, and then just wanted to stay clean the rest of the race. Looks like there was some excitement ahead of me, huh?
Yeah, you did a great job for yourself there. Just walk me through that. I mean, you were racing around Rui Coimbra there, one of the fastest drivers in the Spec-5 World Tour, and just what did that feel like? I mean, we know Rui definitely didn't have the best race for himself tonight, but you were able to beat him, the only open class driver so far this season to do so.
I'm not gonna lie, it was a little nerve-wracking being behind him. I was giving him way too much room because I didn't want to make a mistake and take out the leader of the championship series. But I figured, hey, while I'm back here, I'll follow him, see if I can learn something from the man.
Yeah, and you definitely did. You were able to overtake him and beat him by the time you got back to the line. Anybody you want to thank for being able to get the win once again here for the open class?
Not a team, fantastic. Bunch of great drivers in there. Looks like Nicky did well. I wish I could have kept his draft. And as always, the commissioners for putting on Spec 5 and you guys for doing an amazing broadcast. Really appreciate it, guys.
All right, well, Dean, I'll hand him over to you unless you got anything
no,
else for him.
Well, no, not really at all there, Lee, mate. Jose's still always the man that's in P2. He just hasn't got the opportunity there to beat you at the moment. He finished out back in P13, but in the class he finished second. As a truck goes off in the background there, apologize about that one. So yeah, you're still going to gain a little bit more points on him and kind of continue your rampage, I'd say, in trying to secure this championship. But yeah, aside from that, mate, once again, battling it out with the top guns in the pro class is always going to feel good. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And yeah, a lot of fun as always.
We're going to drag him back there to the interview waiting rooms. As
Kick him out. Kick him out. He will kindly.
Partner, we have his, I wouldn't really call it a partner in crime, but we're often the guy that always ends up front, but just always one spot away from that top spot. Jose Gonzalez, Dean, I'll give him to you.
Yeah, Jose Gonzalez, welcome to Italy. Grazia, but gracias, of course, for that P2 position, obviously, in your class. Yeah, another good drive, but once again, mate, just so many cars, isn't there, on track, those pro cars between you and obviously leading the championship. So, yeah, your drive and what? How can you beat that man? What are you going to do? Come in Phillip Island.
I have to try a little harder, man. He's super fast, and this track was a little tough. The incidents, the track limits were just crazy. You had a little bump and it's like off track, so you couldn't use the whole track at all.
Well, the bumps as well too. Those big bumps, of course, when you get the most of the car off the track. Yeah, but you had you had a lot of action, of course, from the start. I mean, you gained 4 positions in this race, of course, beating some of those pro drivers. How did it go around? I think you boxed around lap 11, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I did go in lap 11, and I kind of messed up my pits. Stood there a little bit longer, took a little more fuel than I should have. But I mean, we'll try it again next time,
Oh, I'm seeing a pit stop times at about 10 and 19, so I thought that was actually a pretty good pit stop, but that's probably one of the quickest pit stops, but that could just be my telemetry saying that.
No, yeah, I think I stopped before Rui and Brian, and they left the pits way before me, so it was a little bit longer than I wanted to, but it kind of sucked.
Well, thank you. You're still at that P2 in the championship. You're not letting Lee run away with it completely just yet, because there's still a few more rounds to go. Over once again down to Phillip Island in Australia. How you looking forward to that track?
Oh yeah, definitely I am. I think Lee's gonna beat me, but I'm not going down without a fight. So I am gonna try to get him in Phillip Island. We'll see what happens.
All right, mate. If you're nice to the Australians, they'll give you a jar of a bit of Vegemite, mate. They give you that boost to probably get it done. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. And that man we just spoke to us, of course, was Jose Gonzalez. That's running second in the open class, just behind Lee that we spoke to. Who's next in the hit list of interviews?
So, next we're going to have the winner believe once again of the pro class here. Winner overall and in the pro class, Mitchell Peak. You got it done once again over Otis Adams Jr. How was it racing him out there, and how difficult was it to best him even with a 3.3 second gap that you made up to win that race?
Oh, that was a very difficult race, right from the word go. On the first lap, we were battling. Someone was really slow through the bottom of the hill there, and so I made a move into the last chicane, and we lost a bunch of time to Otis. And at that point, I was like, "Are we going to end up losing the draft after lap 1?" So I was just putting in like quali laps from that point onwards. And we get to the pit stops, and I felt pretty good about things. I was like, okay, pitting from the lead, don't do anything stupid. And then I slid through my pit box like a dummy. So had to back up and reverse. And when I came out of the pits, I looked at the gap, and it was 5 seconds to Otis. And I was like, okay, this one's over. Just, keep pushing here. And I think it was Curtis that when I came out of the pits, he was right in front of me. I was like, let's see if I can work with Curtis for a little bit. And dropped him, and I was looking at the gap ahead. I was like, man, 5 seconds was 4.2, then it was 3.7, then it was 3.3. So I was just head down, put the pedal down, and see how fast I can go. And by the time I caught Otis, he told me to go on by, and I almost botched it into the last chicane again because I wasn't expecting to move around him like that. And he was saying that he was fuel saving at that point. Real shame to see him run out of fuel because he had amazing pace today. I think a couple other people ran out at the line too, actually, or before the line.
Yeah, Mitchell, your pit stop that I'm showing is 54.53 and 40. Actually, have a look at Otis is 48.17. So, yeah, that was about the 5 second gap that you mentioned there correctly. And it is unfortunate is that the fuel, you kind of need that, don't you, to power those the rotary engines, of course, for the Mazdas. But, yeah, it is unfortunate because at the start of that, before the pit stops, guys, you were bumping to bumper all the way, you guys.
Yeah, like before the pit stops, there's really no getting away. The draft is so strong there, and as soon as Otis and I had hooked up for the beginning of the race, there it was like, I'll pass you. He comes up on my bumper, and we were playing nice with each other. And then after the pit stops, I knew it was going to be game on, but I really didn't think there was a chance after I blew the stop like that. But I took just enough fuel. I ended up sputtering on the last lap about on the cool down lap about halfway through, and I didn't even make it back to the start finish straight with fuel. So I think I had about 0.4 or 0.5 of a lap left in the tank when I ended up crossing the line. So it was just enough for me. I'm thankful I took enough, but great race. Like I said earlier, I was just pushing like quali lap after quali lap just to see if I had a chance, and it worked out for me in the end.
You always push, mate. That's exactly right. That have to, absolutely. And besides, mate, you were you and Zach are the only Canadians. Sorry, and Nikki. Nikki has did a great performance as well. But yeah, push. You never know what's going to happen. Exactly what we've seen. People run out of fuel. There's incidents. It happens.
Yeah, you never know until you cross the finish line what's going to happen. And,
even if you have to push it across the finish line, mate, you would have done that if you needed to. But you are obviously 50. I'm just having a look at the points at the moment. You're right down, obviously, in the timing. In the points. But this is a bit of a gain now. You're going to jump at quite a few places here. And, it's got to feel pretty good, my friend. Is it your first race win as well, too? And just to double confirm that.
Second one. I won last week as well. But, I had I've had a couple other rough races this season. So, my drop weeks are clearly out of the way early. So that doesn't bode well for the championship run overall. But, if I keep finishing on the top step, then, I still got a chance. 5 races to go.
Don't these things come in threes? Don't they?
Hey,
so the trifecta's on its way, right? It's a natural rule of thumb. It comes in threes. So next one.
Well, last week after my win, I gave a shout out to my kids, Mackenzie and Riley, and it seemed to work out again for tonight. So just want to say hi to my girls again. Maybe they're the good luck charm. Shout out to Jason Bossy again, repping me in the chat. It shows that I have at least one fan out there, so I love it.
Yeah, you do. Congratulations again, mate. Your fan club's obviously paying off. Beautiful family, obviously, is the way to go. Yeah, that's the best fan club you can possibly have. So let's let them know. Put the trophy up there and say, look, I got 2. Let's go 3 for race wins. And let's get ourselves up into the championship. Anyway, thank you very much,
3
mate.
next week.
Alex, any questions there for
Just
winning driver?
Congratulations to you, man. You did a great job tonight. You end up getting the victory once again. Good luck to you next week at Phillip Island.
Thank you very much.
That was Mitchell Peak, your winner for 2 weeks in a row now here at Imola. We're gonna looks like we're gonna get one more interview, and it's gonna be the person that finished P3, I believe, maybe P2. I'm not quite sure for the open, or excuse me, for the pro class.
Ronnie, if it is.
That is Ronnie
That's
Coates.
P3, my
Dean.
friend. Go ahead.
P3, excuse me. Dean, I'll let you have him.
Hello, I'm here.
Ronnie,
Hello?
you're on mine, Ronnie. Good
All
job.
right.
So
Fantastic.
yeah, mate. It's unfortunate we actually couldn't get David in here as well, but because both you and David gained a lot of positions. Now you gained 3 positions, my friend. Explain your race.
Well, I qualified pretty decent and got turned around. A couple of guys got in front of me, and everybody checked up and got spun around on that last corner onto the straight. And I think I came out of there 17th when I came out of there. So pretty happy with that.
Pretty happy. Of course, it's almost lost the first challenge, isn't it, mate?
Right.
And you boxed. So I'm just having a look at your pit stop times were very good as well too. You must have been pretty impressed with that. You spot your pit stop box on time there. I think it was about 40 seconds and change. You're in and out.
Yeah, I think 46.6, something like that, I think. I had Lee was right behind me when we came in, and he was kind of trying to follow my draft, and I know I ended up losing him on the pit exchange there, and caught a couple more people in draft, and I think Eugenio was like struggling with fuel there at the end. I was kind of starting to give him a run, and then he started saving. So,
did you box twice?
No.
No. Okay. My telemetry's all messed up because I'm like, I don't think you boxed twice. There's a bit of a pit stop. Sorry. Yeah. Apologies about that. But what was the fun that you had in the race overall? Like the biggest challenge, the wheel-to-wheel action, because there was so much. Unfortunately, we might not have got everything on stream. But we certainly got some of that.
This track itself is just super challenging. The pit limits, the track limits are so much different than the last time I was here, and so it was just really a struggle just fighting the track on that, not picking up incidents left and right, which I kind of did. I ended up with 15 incidents, I believe.
Yeah, there was a lot of people with that. That was the key of the moment, isn't it, for the track that all the drivers had mentioned to us as well too. Those track limits were grueling. That's because everybody was flying through those S's at maximum speed with only a couple of wheels on the track, and of course momentum physics.
Yeah.
But Ronnie, yeah, mate, and that's also going to help out you in the championship because you're also P16, I believe, and that's a bit more hurler points there to get yourself up there as well, especially because some of the top gladiators this evening didn't quite get the results that they wanted to continue with their championship. But it's heating up. It's Italy. And my final question: pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Sure, why not?
All right, there you go. Thank you very much. Over to you, Alex.
Have a great night.
All right, well, have a good night, Ronnie Coates. Congrats on the podium tonight here at Imola. I'll drag you back. Have a good one.
Thanks, man.
That was Ronnie Coates. He rounds out the podium on the third step of it. And with that, just some finishing thoughts. Just again, a great race from these guys, especially with those battles for the podium towards the end of that race. I did really enjoy that. And we had the pit strategy as well as a little bit of chaos in there as well. So great race overall from these guys. Dean, how about you?
Always. Absolutely. I feel for Ian out there stepping in, of course, there too tonight for Adam. That's always traveling around the world, isn't he? Hey, so shout out to Adam, of course. Somewhere in Europe, we believe he is at the moment. I know exactly where he is. I've got a tracker on him, but no. Ian stepped in, of course, and done that fantastic production work tonight. So, Ian, yep, good job, my friend.
Thank you, Ian, for running those cameras. You did a great job doing that.
Yep. So, mate, guess what? Down and let's have some kangaroo on the barbecue in Phillip Island next week.
All right, well, we're going to try this one more time. Let's see if I can get 2 clean sweeps in a row on the outro. Let's see. We're going to give it a shot. I know I butchered Watkins Glen. needed to give me like 3 shots to get that one right. But this has been Slow Motion Broadcasting's coverage of the Spec-5 World Tour here from Imola, the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari here. And I am Alex Andersen. I have been joined in the booth by the always fantastic to have with me, Dean Biggles, with Ian Fisher stepping up to run cameras for us in the background. And with that, see y'all next week at Phillip Island, and everybody have a good night.